Now to a cautionary tale unfolding in real time. If you lie to protect your boss, even if your boss is the boss, like, you know, the boss, it could land you in prison. Tim Mapes, a former chief of staff to former all-powerful House Speaker Mike Madigan, has been sentenced to 2.5 years at Club Fed. Prosecutors wanted 5. His attorneys wanted community service. So we got something in between. Joining us now is someone who's been covering Tim Mapes and his boss, Mike Madigan, for years. Chicago Tribune investigative reporter Ray Long. Mr. Long, always a friend of the stream. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Great to be here again, Brad. Thank you.
So first things first, when people hear the name Tim Mapes, it doesn't elicit a real response, especially like the name Mike Madigan. But he was essentially a consigliere to the most powerful man in Illinois for years. Why should this case and sentence matter to people watching at home right now? I mean, it's almost like they need a lesson in how government works. This guy was a doorkeeper to the door, if you will. Again, it doesn't elicit a lot of response. Why should it? Why is it important?
Well, he even had a little plaque in his office that said something like, if you want to see the wizard, you got to go through me. Wow. So you've got a guy who was the gatekeeper for Madigan, and he was the guy who had wielded as much power as Madigan because he had Madigan's approval, imprimatur, if you will, to go out and run roughshod on legislators, and he was praised often for keeping the trains running on time. He even referenced that when he was asking the judge for leniency. But the reality is that a lot of people thought that he was just a little too nasty. And the question here that the judge brought up, Brad, was why did he go into the jury when he had immunity given to him to tell the truth, and then he went ahead and lied to protect his boss?
Yeah, and not huge lies either, just little lies, but all little lies, you know?
Yeah, they were the kind of lies, but they were lies that shut down other areas of inquiry. So he would be asked a general question like, do you know about the relationship between Mike Madigan and his co-defendant, Michael McLean, who was a longtime lobbyist, former legislator, and he lobbied for ComEd, was convicted among the ComEd 4, and he sat between Madigan in a conference room between Madigan and Mapes for years, running his lobbying and political operation with Madigan, taking orders from Madigan, taking assignments. And Mapes would say things like, I don't really know too much about it. I don't know why I would, you know. So there were just obvious things that he just stiff-armed the grand jury. And as a result, the prosecutors couldn't build a foundation to take questions further. They said that if he had been honest and he had given the knowledge he knew, he could have helped them immensely during the investigation into Michael Madigan. And of course, he's been indicted anyway and faces a racketeering trial this fall.
Yeah, and the temerity to think that you could get away with, no, I don't know much, when you're sitting between the guys for years. So a lot has happened since 2018 when Mapes resigned following a sexual assault harassment scandal. Talk about, I mean, a lot of people don't have good things to sing about Mapes. I mean, he may have said he'd run the trains on time, but I wouldn't, use like a Mussolini quote to reference myself and how well I do at work. You and your cohort, Jason Meisner, incredible reporters at the Tribune, back in August, said how Mapes, despite being guilty of lying and despite being forced to resign, despite now being convicted of federal felony fraud charges, is still going to collect his massive pension, 150 G's a year. I guess there's a little loophole in this blah-blah-blah. AG Kwame Raoul's going to look into it. But has anyone in Springfield, and they don't like policing themselves, has anyone in Springfield thought about tightening up the laws on how you cut off pensions, in relation to cases like this? Like, how's Mapes can go to 2.5 years and then go sip pina coladas down in Palm Springs because of this?
Yeah, he could actually be collecting during the time that he's in prison if if they took a look at it and just determined that he didn't fit the actual tight definition of when you could have your pension taken away. Basically, in general, you have to do something that is related to your public duties. And he was lying to the grand jury after he had been thrown out of his office by Madigan a couple of years before. So the question really is, can he, even though he was being questioned about things that happened during his time while he was in the legislature, can they make the connection that his pension should be taken away because it was related to what he was doing in the legislature? So that's going to be one of the big questions that Kwame Raoul is going to have to wrestle with. And the question of whether they'll tighten this, I've been writing these kind of stories about the loopholes for years. The only time we've seen some kind of reaction was when I wrote about many lawmakers who would plead guilty and then go for a year or so before they would be sentenced, and they would collect that entire time. And then after writing about that multiple times, the folks who are in charge of the legislative pensions have said once you make a guilty plea, you can't wait until sentencing to keep collecting. So the theory there is that you're cut off as immediately once you're convicted or once you are found guilty. As you know, Brad, Ed Burke is still collecting pension himself in the city council because of that same kind of flexibility that they give. He was found guilty, but they actually gave him a bump in his pension because there was a 3% increase he got at the beginning of the year. They don't consider the conviction finalized until the sentence is given. They just tweaked that a little bit in the General Assembly pension system so that you could get it cut off sooner.
Yeah, and a lot of states have much more seriously, like if you're convicted of a felony, period, pension gone.
Yeah,
of course,
right.
Illinois,
There's a lot of ways that this could be tightened, but the General Assembly doesn't seem to be in the mood to do that.
Right, yeah, seems those pension collectors may not want to be. So Mapes lied. He's going to go to jail for it. But he's also a human being, even though it's hard to believe if you've ever dealt with him before, or any of Madigan's people, or any of Madigan's spokespeople who were, they were what I like to call as the journalist screamers, phone screamers. If you ever did, which I know you did, the piece is not favorable to Madigan. But in the simplest terms, he was also just doing his job for his boss. And, you reference in your story, Mapes kind of broke a little when discussing the toll this has taken on his father, still a farmer in western Illinois. Kind of this remarkable juxtaposition of this little kid, grew up in a farm, western Illinois, makes it to the height of power, in reality without the title, but the height of power being Madigan's consigliere, in Springfield. Did that humanize him at all to you? Does it to others? Does it matter?
I think it had an impact on the judge. The judge was really wrestling with whether this case fit the 51 to 63 month guideline that the prosecutors outlined. He looked at the rules and the law and said that does fit, but given the crime and given what other people have gone to prison for during lengths of time for perjury, he just thought that there was more that could be given as far as flexibility. So he kind of split the baby. He had like you said at the beginning, they were looking for probation or some kind of time served for whatever time he served. I don't know when he was fingerprinted or something like that. But the reality was that I believe it had some kind of impact on the judge. And there were dozens of letters from supporters, which have not been released yet.
Oh, I can't wait till you get
they
a hold of
include
those.
apparently some powerful figures from Illinois.
I can't wait till you get a hold of those. I will certainly be reading that, as I do read everything Ray Long, Chicago Tribune investigative reporter, two-time Pulitzer Prize finalist, and now we look forward to another trial to come, the boss of bosses. So thank you for coming on the show. We'll see you soon, Ray.
Great to be here, Brad. Thank you.